Yo, what is up guys? Ethan here back with another video. In today's video, I will be giving you my preseason top 25 for this upcoming college football season. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Also share the video if you haven't. So, like I said in the intro, I'll be giving my preseason top 25. Now, this top 25 is going to be without any conference that is not going to be playing college football this year. The big ones, the Big Ten and the Pac-12, as long with the Mountain West as well. Those are the only ones I really know. So, yeah. So, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, and all the other conferences that are playing, those teams will be in the top 25. Now, of course, there are going to be some teams that shouldn't be in the top 25, but due to the lack of schools, they are going to be in the top 25. So, I just want to get that out of the way. Also, I will be giving a quick channel update in the probably like in the next week or two, as I'm going to be telling you how I'll be doing my videos for this upcoming college football season. But that's all I have to say, and let's get straight into my top 25 for the 2020 season. So the number one team I have is Clemson. Now, Clemson I think should be the number one team going into this season, as LSU did win the national championship, but they lost a lot of talent, and I'm pretty sure they're only returning 2 starters now since Kerry Vincent Jr. decided to opt out. So LSU, they're going to be at 4, but we'll get to them later. And Clemson, they were the runner-ups, and they basically have lost no talent besides the guys that left for the NFL draft, and of course Justin Ross. And your 2 key players, Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence, did say they will be playing college football this season. So your top 2 players are going to play this year. I think Clemson should be the number 1 team. But if they're going to be undefeated and you have teams like Georgia and Alabama that are also undefeated, don't be surprised if those teams get a nod over Clemson. The number 2 team I have is Alabama, and I think the number 1 and number 2 maybe flip-flop those teams, but I think those are the only 2 teams you could really consider for those first 2 teams. Alabama, of course, is a juggernaut. Had a disappointing year last year, but I really like your team this year, and you could probably go undefeated with their easy, well, you don't have non-conference, but the 2 additional games, Kentucky and Missouri, they're going to be a little bit easy. So, Alabama, have them as the number 2 team. Now, the number 3, I decided to give it to Georgia. Now, I'm pretty sure Jamie Newman is going to play this year, or start, because JT Daniels, I could be wrong, hasn't got that waiver, so he would be eligible to play immediately. I'm not sure if that was given to him already, but Jamie Newman's probably going to start this year, and that Georgia offense is going to be way much more improved besides that offensive line, because they did take a few hits with Isaiah Wilson and Andrew Thomas leaving. But that offense is going to be really good for them this year. And, of course, like last year, they're going to have a top 3 defense. They finished number 1 in all of college football last year in defense. So, your defense returns a lot of their stars. So, I think Georgia is going to be the number 3 team. Now, the number 4 is LSU. And I only decided to give LSU number 4 is because of what they've done last year. And even though you lost tons of talent based off that historically great year by LSU last year, I think the committee and I would agree that they should be top 4 until they lose a game. Now, in the middle of the year, well, the SEC, of course, that's tough for competition than the Big 12, but I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma got that notch, but I personally decided to give LSU that number 4 spot, even though I think a few of these teams below them are going to be better. Well, they have better teams. Number 5, I decided to go with Oklahoma. They did make the college football playoff this year. And personally, even though I think your team's going to be improved, I think just like based on the record, I don't think Oklahoma will make the playoff this year. I think they're going to be right outside at that 5 or 6 spot. But Spencer Rattler has to prove, he just needs 1 or 2 good games, and I'm already like, man, this dude's going to be excellent. But until he plays 1 full game that he actually does good, I'm not believing that Spencer Rattler hype. But if he is going to easily convince me if he has at least 1 or 2 great games. But your top wide receiver and Jaden Hazelwood, former 5-star wide receiver, towards ACL. You're not going to have him this year. My bad, he was your second. But your receivers are always good with Charleston Rambo as the front runner. And I think Rambo is going to have a great year for Oklahoma this year. But I decided to go with Oklahoma number 5. Number 6, I have Florida. And I saw Florida as high as number 3. And I do not believe Florida is a better team than Georgia. I'm on the train that Georgia is the better team. I'm not a fan of either team, to be honest. But I really don't see what Florida's hype is all about. I think Kyle Trask is a good quarterback. He actually is a really good quarterback. But one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the nation man, I do not believe the Kyle Trask hype at all. Your running back situation is definitely going to be, you have to see what that's going to be for. You lost a lot of your wide receivers, but I do think your wide receiver core is going to be good. Your offensive line is going to be a big issue this year. I know you have a top 2 tight end in the nation with Kyle Pitts, but he's not a good blocker. He's just an elite receiver for the tight end position. But their offensive line is going to struggle this year. Their defense is definitely going to carry this team, and I think Florida at 6 is a good spot. Now, Notre Dame at 7. I saw Notre Dame as high as number 4 and as low as 10. So I decided to go in the middle with at number 7. I'm not exactly sure how Notre Dame's going to feel playing in a conference this year. It may take a little bit of adjusting, and I think Notre Dame's definitely going to get upset this year. It's not going to be an upset versus Clemson, but if you watch my predictions, the upset I did have was at Pittsburgh. I don't know exactly what game, but I think Notre Dame is definitely going to get upset by an ACC team. So I don't think Notre Dame is a top 7 team, but just for this preseason ranking, I think they should be in the top 8, but I don't think they're going to be a top 8 team towards the middle or end of the season. Now, number 8 is Auburn, and I'm just not a big fan of Texas A&M, and I have been saying it all of this offseason. If you have been subscribed, you would know. If you're not, you definitely should. But Texas A&M, I'm not a big fan. And I think Auburn is definitely going to be a better team than them this year. Your offense, well, for the past few years, your defense has been the main thing on that Auburn team. But I want to say probably the first time since Cam Newton was your quarterback, your offense is definitely going to be the clear front runner. I am actually a big believer in Bo Nix this year, and Seth Williams and Anthony Schwartz is probably one of the most underrated wide receiver duos in all of college football. Now, it's not one of the best, but definitely underrated. And I think Auburn, plain out, is a better team than Texas A&M, so I decided to give Auburn that 8 spot, but they could definitely fall down to like 12 or 13 with a loss. Number 9, I have Oklahoma State, and this could be a shocker to some, but I really like this Oklahoma State offense, and it's going to be very iffy. This Oklahoma State team, it's either you have superstars, stars, or nothing. You don't have any average players on that roster. And that defense, even though people are saying you did lose your big cornerback in AJ Green, Colby Harvey-Appeal, your safety, I think he's definitely going to improve off this year and definitely get the attention that he deserves. You have a top 2 running back in Chuba Hubbard. You have a top 15 wide receiver in Tylan Wallace. And even though he got hurt at the tail end of last year, Spencer Sanders is super underrated as well. That offensive line is going to be a tad of a concern, and you really don't have a tight end, but I really like this Oklahoma State team, and also with the coaching of Mike Gundy, I think Oklahoma State will be a top 10 team this year. And I'm not going to talk about Texas A&M that much. I'm not a big believer in them. If they prove me wrong, they're going to be a top 7 team, but I can see them going all the way down to probably like 16 if they have like an 8-4 year. But I'm not a big fan of Texas A&M, but even though I'm not a big fan, I think below 10 is just a reach. So I decided to place Texas A&M at 10. Number 11 is North Carolina, and I'm only putting them up here because of the hype. And I had Texas over North Carolina at first, but looking at the stars, I think North Carolina does have more star power than Texas. led by your quarterback, your sophomore quarterback, Sam Howell, and then you have a great wide receiver core in Daz Newsome and Damani Brown. So that North Carolina offense is definitely going to be the key thing, and then your defense is returning a lot of their starters, and I think overall North Carolina is a better team than Texas, but at the end of the year, I think Texas could potentially have a better record. Now, talking about Texas, they're number 12, and I just feel iffy about it. I think Bijan Robinson, your freshman running back, is going to be a stud for years to come, but I'm not sure with him and Sam Ehlinger, I'm not sure how that Texas team is going to be doing. And I think Texas is a poor man's version of Oklahoma State this year. Now, they're neck and neck. You have a better quarterback, but yeah, I have a super underrated wide receiver in Brennan Eagles, but I do think Eagles does need to develop a little bit more, and I just don't think Texas is better than Oklahoma State, but I do think Texas is a top 13 team. Now, for the last two from 13 and 14, I did Memphis and UCF. If you watch my American team rankings, I think UCF is the better team. But based on the historically great year Memphis did last year, I'm going to give Memphis the slight edge at 13. Now, UCF at 14 could be a reach as they didn't even finish in the top 25 last year. Same in North Carolina and a lot of these teams towards the end, but UCF, I think they're going to get top 15, but if the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are involved, they would have been probably like 22, 23, but due to the lack of teams, they are going to be stuck at that 14 spot. So number 15, I do have Cincinnati, and like I said in my American video, it's literally up to you on that Memphis, UCF, and Cincinnati on those team rankings, and definitely in this position. And in both times, I'm giving Cincinnati the lowest edge. But Cincinnati is definitely going to be a great team this year. Luke Fickell, I think that's the coach's name. I could be wrong on that, but I always get confused. Yeah, it is Luke Fickell because Mike Norvell is Memphis. I'm sorry, but Cincinnati, Luke Fickell is still your head coach. Desmond Ryder, however you said it, he's coming back for his next year on that he's eligible, and he is a great quarterback. Jerome Ford, I think that's his name, transferred from Alabama, wants more touches. He's coming into a great situation that just lost their running back, so Cincinnati has a great running back. You probably have the best defense in the entire American, so Cincinnati at number 15. Number 16, I have Iowa State, and Iowa State can definitely be higher, but that defense overall has basically dropped them, in my opinion. Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, and Charlie Collier is just a great trio to have for any college football team. But I think Iowa State's in their scheme, they are actually overproducing, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Iowa State's defense definitely just brings them down, but I do think they're going to initially have a better ranking than the rest of these teams. Number 17, I have Tennessee, and Tennessee is a tricky team to do. Now, I don't think initially they're a top 25 team, but due to these circumstances, they're number 17. And I think 17 and that point on, these are just the teams that are borderline top 25 or not in the top 25 in general, but I decided to go with Tennessee, number 17. They look like they're on the rise, and yeah. Number 18, I have Louisville, and Louisville went from a 12-10 year to winning a bowl game last year. Well, I'm not sure if they lost to Mississippi State, but a great bounce back year for the Cardinals, and Javion Hawkins and Hassan Hall are definitely going to be a great running back duo. Mikael Cunningham is going to be a great quarterback for that Louisville team. Just like Iowa State, that defense rating definitely brings it lower, as Louisville had dead last in defense in the ACC last year. So, yeah, that defense, but that offense is going to be phenomenal. Also, Tutu Atwell's on there. So that offense is going to be elite, and that's why they're this high. Number 19 is TCU. Now, My bad. This poll I made was before Max Duggan announced that he's going to be out indefinitely. Now, since they're out indefinitely, I would still keep TCU in the top 25, but I'll put them around that 22-23 position. But this TCU team is going to be great. Their defense, in my opinion, is the best in the Big 12. Well, I forgot. Well, definitely top 2 in the Big 12. That offense is definitely going to take a hit now that Duggan's out. But I think Zach Evans is going to fill in that running back spot really nicely. And, yeah, that defense is definitely going to be elite for TCU. And they're going to carry this TCU team. Now, 20, I actually have a surpriser, and that's going to be App State in the Sun Belt. They are always underappreciated, and this could be the year that they get that New Year's 6 spot. I think App State, now that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are out, they're going to be consistently in the top 25 unless they lose to a team like Louisiana or Georgia Southern again. But I think App State is going to be consistently in the top 25 this year, and I decided to put them at number 20. Number 21 is Miami, and De'Ara King is definitely going to be the big reason why I've done this. Your wide receiver core has definitely gotten better. Your running back core is a little iffy. And I know that Greg Russo did decide to opt out, but that defense is still going to be great for Miami. And they're going to be borderline top 25 all year. And I decided to put them at number 21. And number 2 is Kentucky. And they could potentially even be over Miami. But I decided to go with Miami at 21 because I think De'Ara King is a way better quarterback than Terry Wilson for this team. Now, Kentucky, they are deep. It's probably the most underrated team, one of the most underrated teams in college football. So is Pittsburgh, but we'll get to that in a second. But I love this Kentucky team. Brandon Echols, I've been saying it all offseason. He's going to have a great year, one of the most underrated players in all of college football. And I really like this Kentucky team. I don't know what else to say. They're guaranteed top 25 in this list. Number 23, it's Pittsburgh. And I really like this team. I always forget. Well, not always. I forgot if Jalen Twyman decided to opt out, but I really liked its Pittsburgh defense, and it's mainly led by Paris Ford. And yeah, I really like Paris Ford, one of the most underrated safeties in college football. Darn it, my bad. But I think Kenny Pickett is definitely going to have a great senior year for that Pittsburgh offense, and that receiving core. It took a few shots, but that Pittsburgh is going to be a top 23 under this top 25 under these circumstances. And number 24 and 25 is just a flip-flop for me. Number 24 is Baylor. I'm not sure how they're going to play. My bad. I'm not sure how Baylor's going to play this year due to a lot of lost talent, mainly led by my bad. Big Ten. My bad. Jeez, I'm saying my bad. Jeez, I am so sorry about that. But Baylor, I'm not sure how they're gonna play without Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year James Lynch, and of course Denzel Mims. You plain out lost a lot of talent. The only 2 key players that are returning is John Lovett, your running back, and of course Charlie Brewer, your elite. No, I'm not gonna say elite, but your good quarterback. And number 25 is Virginia Tech. They would have been way higher, but since Caleb Farley opted out, they're just a borderline top 25 team for me. I'm not sure if the Hendon Hooker is the right guy at your quarterback spot, but he is good enough to keep this team at a top 25 level. So that is my college football top 25 for the preseason going into the season. And yeah, in the comments section below, is there any teams is there any teams I missed out on? What teams would you rank higher and or lower? And yeah, so guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe, and like always, have a good day. Peace out.